Okay, here we are. Today is day 6 for the Advent of Cyber Challenge. Today's challenge is malware analysis, Egg-xecutable. And of course, before we begin, little disclaimer, I am not a cybersecurity professional. I have no experience in or with cybersecurity, and I will be taking on these challenges as a beginner, just like other beginners would. So sometimes you may see me stop, research, and even look things up. So I just like to apologize in advance for that. Either way, here we go. Today is day 6. Now, another disclaimer, I have already worked through this challenge one time just to kind of familiarize myself with this because I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. All right, so let's go ahead and jump through this. We have task 1, introduction, and task 2, malware analysis using Sandbox. So, introduction. The town of Wareville remains quiet in the middle of the night, while the residents of Wareville are nicely tucked up in bed, blissfully unaware the SOC team, which is Security Operations Center, the team at the Best Festival Company, TBFC, remain alert, poised, and ready for whatever may face them, monitoring their screams and armed with a freshly poured mug of hot cocoa. The elves of the SOC, Security Operations Center, watch their dashboards diligently. Suddenly, the elves receive an email in unison from Elf McClaws, head of Elf Affairs. And we can see right here an example of that email. So from Elf McClaws, subject, a new schedule awaits, and attachments, hophelper.exe. To all elves, going forward, we will be using a new program for creating and viewing team rotas. This new program will revolutionize how rotas are made here at the TBFC or the Best Festival Company. Please contact IT support if you have issues running the program. Kind regards, remain the best. Elf McClaws, head of Elf Affairs. Now, first question asked, why is Elf McClaws working at 3 a.m., screams a member of the SOC team in the background. They're right, something is amiss. So Elf McBlue is immediately suspicious. Their years of experience in the SOC have given them the wisdom not to download out of the blue executables. Without McSkitty's wisdom, Elf McBlue takes charge, loading up their malware investigation tool kit, not kick, but tool kick. The investigation begins. So, learning objectives. Today's room will have you taking the place of Elf McBlue, a highly talented member of the Best Festival Company, TBFC's Malware Investigation Squad, and you have been tasked with investigating a highly suspicious executable that is being shared within the company. In today's room, we will be covering the following: the principles of malware analysis, an introduction to sandboxes, static first dynamic analysis, tools of the trade, so PE Studio, Procmon, and RegShot, either way. And before moving forward, we're going to review the questions in the connection card below. And of course, as I said, the questions as well. So VM and split screen plus credentials. So do I need to start the attack box today? That will be a no. Do I need to start a VM today? Yes. Is there split screen? Yes. Is there a direct link? No. And are there credentials given to me or provided to me to connect directly to the VM via RDP, VNC, or SSH, which is also a yes. So start your target machine by clicking the Start Machine button below. The machine will open up in split view, and we will need about 2 minutes to fully boot. And in case you don't see it, we can always click the Show Split View button, which will be at the top of the page. So we're going to go ahead and click that, kick this off. Close these two pop-ups here. And of course, we have our target machine. We're just waiting for the IP address to load, as well as the system here to load. So alternatively, of course, if we want to connect via RDP, we can use these credentials here. However, I am a beginner like most, and I'm just going to go ahead and skip this. Click check that I have access to my sandbox environment, which I don't just yet, but will shortly. And let's go ahead and kick off task 2 while we're waiting for this to finalize and load, and while we wait for the IP to appear as well. So task 2, malware analysis using Sandbox or sandboxes. Principles of malware analysis. Malware analysis is the process of examining a malicious file to understand the functionality, operation, and methods for defense against it. By analyzing malicious file or application, we can see exactly how it operates and therefore know how to prevent it. For example, could the malicious file communicate with the attacker's server? And it looks like we're loading here. And of course, this is going to be a Windows machine. Just because I already have walked through this, I had some issues in the split screen view, so I'm going to go into full screen. And while that's loading there, we can also jump back over, and there we go. Close the split screen view, and we have our machine here. Okay. So could the malicious file leave traces on the machine? And we can use these to determine if the malware has ever infected another device. Instead of fearing malware, we can take a proactive approach by translating technical findings into practical defensive measures and understanding how the malware fits into an attacker's techniques. There are two main branches of malware analysis, which is static and dynamic. Static analysis focuses on inspecting a file without executing it, whereas dynamic analysis involves execution. We will come to these shortly. Sandboxes. In cybersecurity, sandboxes are used to execute potentially dangerous code. Think of this as a disposable digital playpen. These sandboxes are safe, isolated environments where potentially malicious applications can perform their actions without risking sensitive data or impacting other systems. The use of sandboxes is part of the golden rule in malware analysis. Never run dangerous applications on a device or devices that you care about. So most of the time, sandboxes present themselves as virtual machines. Virtual machines are a popular choice for sandboxing because you can control how the system operates and benefit from features such as snapshotting, which allows you to create and restore the machine to various stages of status or its status. To reiterate, this is imperative to understand that potentially malicious code and applications should only be run in a safe, isolated environment. From now on, this room will refer to malicious code and applications as samples. With these fundamentals covered, let's move on to the practical section of today's room. The following will demonstrate a sample. You must apply these techniques to the hophelper.exe file presented to you within the hophelper folder on the desktop of the practical VM. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here. We'll come back to interactive static analysis. And right here we have the hophelper folder. We can double click that just to open the folder. Maybe. See, this is one of the issues I had before. It didn't want to allow me to select into any one of these items here. Wonder if I refresh if it'll work. Okay, there we go. So we can double click into the folder, and right here is going to be the .exe, which appears as the application type. Close that. We don't want to run that just yet. And we'll come back to interactive static analysis. So as we alluded to previously in this room, we use static analysis to gather information about a sample without executing it and digging deeper. Static analysis can be a quick and effective way to understand how the sample may operate, as well as how it can be identified. Some of the information that can be gathered from static analysis has been included in the table below. So we have a few columns here. So we have information, explanation, and example. First item, information, checksums. These checksums are used within cybersecurity to track and catalog files and executables. For example, you can Google the checksum to see if this has been identified before. And of course, we see an example of a checksum here. Strings. Strings are sequences of readable characters within an executable. This could be, for example, IP addresses, URLs, commands, or even passwords. So we have an IP right here. Imports. Imports are a list of libraries and functions that the application depends upon. For example, rather than building everything from scratch, applications will use operating system functions and libraries to interact with the OS. These are useful, especially in Windows, as they allow you to see how the application interacts with the system. And we can see an example over here, create file W. This library is used to create a file on the Windows system. And resources. Resources contain data such as the icon that is displayed to the user. This is useful to examine, especially since malware might use a Word document icon to trick the user. Additionally, malware itself has been known to hide in this section. We don't have an example of the icon, so we have not applied. However, it's important to note that regardless of how a sample may appear or function, we don't truly know until it's executed. Attackers use techniques such as obfuscation to obscure or hide, or trick or manipulate how the sample appears, primarily to evade antiviruses, but also to evade a curious analyst. Demonstrating PE Studio. This section of the room will demonstrate using PE Studio on an example called downloader.exe. So we're going to use hophelper.exe, but they're going to refer back to downloader.exe. So please note that the information you will see from this demonstration sample, the sample you will be analyzing will be different, but the techniques will still apply the same. Please note it is imperative that you do not launch the hophelper.exe executable yet. So first, we will use PE Studio to gather information about the executable. Executive summary. We're going to launch PE Studio, load the executable into PE Studio, click on the Indicators tab in the dropdown, and we're going to look for a SHA-256 sum. So first, we're going to launch PE Studio and load the executable into it. The shortcut for this has been placed on the desktop of your analyst machine, and you can drag and drop the executable into PE Studio window or load by selecting File, then selecting Open File from the toolbar, and of course, locating the file and adding it to PE Studio. PE Studio will display some information about the executable. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's launch PE Studio shortcut here. Drag this over here, right there. Open this folder, and we can now grab this hop helper executable, drag it over, close this out here, and immediately we're starting to see some information appear. And we're going to go back over. And like I said, we're going to look for the SHA-256 sum. And right off the bat here, we see the file, file SHA-256, and we can see this here. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click, maybe, and then copy this line. I'm going to come in here, go to my notes for today's challenge. We're going to paste that, and let's come back over. We're going to pause here for just a moment. So of course, this is the same example that we see. Obviously, they're doing downloader.exe, as we can see here. We're doing hophelper.exe, and just to highlight here where we need to come back to. So we're going to come back to, for us at this stage, the file SHA-256 property within the table of interest. This value is a checksum, which is a unique identifier for the executable. We can keep a note of this SHA-256 as threat intelligence. And again, it's just making a note. Now proceed to do this for the sample of hophelper.exe provided to you on the analyst machine to answer question 1. So we're going to go ahead and pause here, come down to the bottom, review those questions, and we'll come back up. Scrolling, lots of images. Okay, so static analysis. What is the SHA-256 sum for hophelper.exe? Well, we just copied that down. We're going to go ahead and copy that section here. Come back over, paste that, check it. Bing. All right, there we go. And static analysis. Within the strings of hophelper.exe, a flag with the format of THM XXXXX exists. What is the flag value? Note this can be found towards the bottom of the string's output. Well, we are not quite there yet. And then we also have 2 questions, one for dynamic analysis, another for dynamic analysis, and we'll get to those in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and scroll right back up. Keep going. And right here. So as a reminder, the hophelper.exe sample can be found in the hophelper folder on the desktop, which we already did drag and drop that into. And next we will proceed by reviewing the strings of the executable. We can do so by clicking on the strings indicator in the left pane of PE Studio. So in the context of malware analysis, strings are sequences of readable characters present within an executable. This could be, for example, IP addresses, URLs, commands, or even passwords. As a malware analyst, it's great to have a look at these, as these could reveal the attacker's command infrastructure, which we can use for our defenses. Now the note here, now proceed to review the strings on the sample hophelper.exe provided to you on the analyst machine to answer question number 2. Please note that it may take a few minutes for the strings to calculate. So we're going to come over here, and on the left-hand side, we're going to select strings. Okay, it's loading everything up here, and it said it can be located towards the bottom, so it does look like there is a bunch, about 4,194 to be exact. And we can just grab this here, drag down, and see if we catch that THM. Nope, keep dragging. Nothing yet. Let's just keep going to the bottom. Oh, right here. So THM strings found. Copy that line. And we're going to go ahead and paste that in here for us as well. We want to grab this flag, THM strings underscore found. We're going to copy that. And we'll go ahead and come back down to question number 2. And we're going to paste that in. Check. Okay, so we'll read through the questions for dynamic analysis. What registry value has the hop helper.exe modified for persistence? Note, provide the full path of the key that has been modified. And dynamic analysis, filter the output of procmon for TCP operations. What network protocol is hop helper.exe using to communicate? Make sure to have executed hop helper.exe while procmon was open and capturing events. Okay, and then we have a bonus as well asking if we enjoyed the room. So we're going to go back up once more. We're not quite there yet. And okay, so we did the strings. Now great, this concludes the static analysis portion of the practical task. There's so much more to uncover using static analysis, so feel free to explore if you like, but let's proceed to dynamic analysis below. Now, it hasn't told me whether or not to close, but I don't think we need this further along, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that. So interactive dynamic analysis. This section of the room provides a brief introduction to dynamic analysis. As you recall, dynamic analysis involves executing the malicious sample to identify its behaviors and how it interacts within the operating system. So we're going to use reg-shot or reg-shot. I'm assuming it's reg since it's registry. However, reg-shot is a widely used utility, especially when analyzing malware on Windows. It works by creating 2 snapshots of the registry, one before the malware is run and another afterwards. The results are then compared to identify any changes. Malware aims to establish persistence, meaning it seeks to run as soon as the device is switched on. A common technique for malware is to add a run key into the registry, which is frequently used to specify which applications are automatically executed when the device is powered on. So this will just be our key for this one. We're going to look for a run key. And before executing malicious sample of hop helper.exe, let's create a snapshot of our registry as it currently is, so we can compare the difference once the sample has been executed. So first, we need to load up reg-shot and create a capture of the registry as it currently exists. The shortcut to this tool has been placed on the desktop for the analyst machine. First, change the output directory of the capture to the user's desktop using the box with 3 dots in the output path section. Then once that's set, let's create our first snapshot. So we'll press first shot and then shot in the dropdown. And please note this may take a few minutes to complete. So we're going to load up our tool that's going to look very similar to this. And we can see compare logs, save as HTML document. We're going to set this to desktop on the output path by clicking these 3 ellipses here. And then we'll do first shot. So we're going to come back over, double click this. Yes. I'm going to flip that over to HTML document, come down here, click desktop. Okay. Let's do first shot. And in this drop down here, we're going to select shot. And as we can see, it is running now. And this is going to take a few seconds or so. And we're just going to go ahead and read this little notation here. So now that we have taken a snapshot of the registry, you should proceed with executing the hop helper.exe sample and take another snapshot. We will then compare the difference. For you, this is the hop helper.exe executable located in the hop helper folder on your desktop. Psst. Now that you have executed the sample, you might see that some strange things have happened, which we'll keep an eye out for in just a moment. So once we have executed our sample, let's return to the red shot and capture our second snapshot using the same procedure as above. Click the second shot button and then press shot, and the drop-down red shot is now capturing the registry again and outputting the difference to a file. And of course, after a few seconds, we can compare. So we'll notice that the compare button will appear once the second shot is complete. So we're going to come back over And we can see our first shot is done because it's allowing us to perform our second shot. However, let's open the Hop Helper folder. Come to the application here, double click that. I'm going to close here and watch these icons as they now have flipped over to different icons here. And we also get a little pop-up box that says King Malware sends his regards. So we can click OK. And now that that's done, I'm going to give it about a couple more seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we're going to click second shot. Let this run for just a moment. And once this is complete, we'll get the compare button here, which will be able to compare our output file. I did perform HTML document as it appeared in the image. So of course, this is going to open up in the browser as an HTML document. You can do plain text as well. And just waiting for this to finish up here. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick sip of coffee. And we're at about 39. Okay, so we have the compare button here now. So before we do that, we're going to come back over. And we can search for the executable within the log that opens up. So real quick, let's go back up here and remember right here, we need to look for the run key. That's what we're going to be looking for. And the way I found this easiest is I'm going to click compare. This should open up in my Google Chrome browser on this machine here. Maybe. Oh, it's still loading. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and go full screen on this. And you can kind of just sort line by line if you wish, or do Control F. And I'm just going to type in run. And we can see here, it highlights run in 4 different areas. So we see TIM running. That's not the run location. And right here, we can also see in the run registry, we can see that run key here. So under the second item, and of course we can just jump, see last normal run. So this right here, I do assume is going to be the full complete path. So I'm going to copy this, come here, enter, paste that in. And let's go over to TryHackMe here. And remember, we're going to come back to Procmon once we are complete with this step. All right. So dynamic analysis, what registry value has the hophelper.exe modified for persistence? Provide the full path of the key that has been modified. If you need the hint, we can select the hint here and investigate the registry comparison file from the reg shot. You can search for the hop helper executable. The executable has installed a registry value within the run registry key. So it's going to be this one here. Control C. Come back in here, Control V, check that out, and there we go. So the next item here for dynamic analysis, filter the output of Procmon for TCP operations. What network protocol is hophelper.exe using to communicate? Make sure to have executed hophelper.exe while Procmon was open and capturing events. So of course, we can always grab a hint. And you can set your filter to contains TCP for the hophelper.exe process, and you can find the protocol within the path column within Procmon. So let's go up and start that next process here, or next step, if you will, and Procmon. So next, we will explore using Procmon Process Monitor from the sysinternals suite to investigate today's sample. Process Monitor is used to monitor and investigate how processes are interacting with the Windows operating system. It is a powerful tool that allows us to see exactly what a process is doing. For example, reading and writing registry keys, searching for files, or creating network connections. So we're going to open the Process Monitor, or Procmon. The shortcut for this has been placed on the desktop of the analyst machine, and Process Monitor will automatically start capturing events of various processes on the system. So as soon as we launch it, it's going to automatically start capturing events. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I'm also going to close Redshot here, and let's go ahead, Parkmon right here. Double click, yes. And it is already actively capturing events. So we can see that right here. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit smaller here, just for the sake of the next steps. Okay. Now that we have that opened, now we need to execute the sample hop-helper.exe again and return to Process Monitor to see how it interacts with the operating system. We'll see a lot of information here, and we don't need to really worry about that yet because we will filter this shortly. So after allowing a minute to pass, ensuring the sample has fully executed, we will now stop capturing. So to stop capturing more events, we can click on the play button in the toolbar of Process Monitor, which is that same button I just kind of highlighted. So this one here. But first, let's go ahead and double click this. And we're going to launch that one more time. Close this here. We'll know that it's finished when we see the little pop-up from King Malware, which is right here. And we'll click OK. So I'll let that grab everything for the next couple seconds here. 3, 2, and we let that run for another additional few seconds, and then we can go ahead and click this option here to stop capturing. Let's come back. And as you can see, there's a lot of information to scroll through here with the most recent events at the bottom. Here we can see how various system processes are interacting with Windows, nearly all of it we don't care about. Remember, the task content is demonstrating using Process Monitor for the demonstration example of downloader.exe. However, of course, we are doing this with hop-helper.exe. So we're going to apply some filters. After all, for this demonstration, we only care about we're doing hop-helper.exe sample. So to do so, we're going to click on the filter button and then filter within the drop down. So a new window will open, so we can click the filter tab, filter button. A new window is going to open under Process Monitor Filter, and we'll see some fields here. And of course, we can create some filters to remove some of the noise that we don't care about, because we want to only look for or look at this downloader.exe. For us, it's going to be hop-helper.exe sample. For this demonstration, we can apply the filters like so. So we're going to apply the process name filter instead of architecture. We're going to set condition to is, just like it is here. And then we're going to put the name of the process we wish to see within the text area. For us, it's going to be hop-helper.exe. And then we can press add button to apply this filter, and finally click OK to save. So we're going to change to process name, leave is, add hop-helper, and then add this here, and then we can click OK. So we're going to come back. We're going to do filter, and we're going to change this to process name, which is here. And we're going to do not Gelper, helper.exe. We're going to click add. We're going to click OK. And we see here it's looking for the process name of hop-helper.exe. Okay, let's go back. Once done, returning to the main Process Monitor window, we can already see that the filter has worked, which we did. And now it is much easier to investigate how the process is interacting with the operating system. Here are some operations that may be of interest to us. So the reg open key, create file, TCP connect, which of course is transmission control protocol, and TCP receive. However, as you can see, there is still a lot of information, and we can further apply filters to look for specific things that we want to investigate, such as the aforementioned operations. So to do so, we can return to the filter heading and create the filter we want to apply. For example, we can filter by operations, just like below, and filtering for TCP operations. So we can change the filter here to operations, contains TCP, and then add. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to add another filter here. We're going to look for operation contains TCP, and then add. Okay. And we see it's narrowed down to just 4 items here. And now we will see the operations that include TCP. Remember, you can remove the filters you've previously applied by pressing the filter. And then in the filter list, we can select the item and then click remove. Or alternatively, if you want to start over, you can simply press reset filter. So we can highlight the filter tab and then just reset the filters. All right. So well done. That concludes the demonstration for today's room. Remember, you will need to apply what you have learned here to the hophelper.exe executable that has been placed in the hophelper folder on the analyst desktop to answer the questions below. So now what we're going to look for in this last question here is filter the output of Procmon for TCP operations, which we've done here. What network protocol is hophelper.exe using to communicate? Make sure you have executed the hophelper.exe while Procmon was open and capturing events. And again, we can select that hint. And you can find the protocol within the path column within Procmon. So make this a little bit larger here. And this is the path section. So we're going to widen this up just a bit. And right here, we can see sandbox/HTTP. So that's going to be our network protocol. So we're going to come back, add in HTTP, enter, and there we go. So bonus, you can find the web panel that hophelper.exe is communicating with. I'm okay here. If you want to, you can select the hint. It seems like the executable is communicating some information about the analyst machine. Can you find where and what? So if you'd like to, you're more than welcome to jump through that bonus. And as well, if you enjoyed today's room, feel free to explore both the basic static analysis and basic dynamic analysis rooms where you can delve deeper into these techniques and tools discussed in today. So we're going to click check. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. And continue again. We can close that. Last but not least, let's go ahead and close this out here. And let's terminate this machine. Close. And just to confirm, we've terminated. Here we go. Perfect. Your machine is being terminated and your machine has terminated successfully. So that's it for day 6.